Hello everyone, Caleb Simpson here, and you're watching my walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time 3D Master Quest for Nintendo 3DS. Now, if you're following along with the GameCube version of this game, you can follow this walkthrough just fine, just note that the world is flipped east to west. Anyways, in this video what we're going to be doing is getting the Biggoron Sword, which is an optional weapon that is super nice. It's pretty cool. It's a two-handed weapon, does a lot of damage. You can really blow up Stalfos in particular, which are kind of a problem in Master Quest, so I do think it's quite valuable and worth getting as soon as possible. So, the main requirement that we need in order to get that is to have King Zora freed from the red ice in Zora's domain. Now, you can get blue fire to thaw him inside the ice cavern, which I completed in the last video. Alternatively, you can also purchase blue fire from the shop in Kakariko in the future, and then you can bring that to King Zora directly and just thaw him immediately, so you can start working on the Biggoron Sword quest as soon as possible. I do think that the ice cavern is pretty quick, so there's not really a reason to go all the way to Zora's domain and not do that. Besides, if you travel all the way to King Zora and then you don't do the ice cavern, then you're gonna have to travel there later, so it just seems redundant. So anyway, so that's be the first requirement, is freeing King Zora from the red ice. The next thing we need is you have to have either the long shot or Epona. Epona also makes the rest of the side quests significantly easier, or specific parts of it anyways, at the very least. So I do think that it's worth getting, because it does make this side quest less stressful, in my opinion. So I do think that I would highly recommend getting Epona for this. In order to do so, though, you do have to have Epona's song, which I got from the past, and I planned ahead and I already have it. What I mean by that is that if you did not get Epona, then what happened, or you did not get Epona's song from the past, then you're going to have to wait until after you completed a more full-fledged dungeon. The Ice Cavern doesn't count, apparently. But anyway, so if you don't have Epona yet, or yeah, if you didn't get Epona's song, you're going to have to wait until after you have completed a dungeon, so that Sheik moves away from the Master Sword pedestal, so you can put the sword back in, so you can go back to the past, so you can get Epona's song, so that you can come back to the future and get Epona. Ugh, super convoluted. But anyway, after you have gotten into the corral here, so pay 10 rupees to get in, and then you can top over the fence if you want to, but otherwise all we need to do is use Epona's song the second time, and then you can speak with Ingo, and he'll offer for us to race him. So here's my big tip for this. Mash the A button. Just at first. So 1, 2, boom. Once you're in front of him, ideally you wait a little bit for your carrots to replenish. But generally speaking, as long as you use one as soon as that last one, or, you're full, as soon as it replenishes, just immediately press it. And that's pretty much the fastest you can go. The problem is if you let it wear out completely, or you run out of them, then you start moving really slow. So that's the big thing, is you just want to avoid getting too low. Although when you get down to the end, you can go ahead and just use a bunch if you want to. But yeah, that's the tip, is just get in front of him. By the way, how that works is he tends to swing wide when you're at the big flat portions. So when he gets to the corners, he cuts the corners really tightly, but then especially the smaller flat portions, he swings wide a little bit. So just cut ahead of him on the inner side if you can. So 1, 2, 3, there we go. I realized I didn't actually use 3 there, there's a delay. But anyway, I'm just commenting on the number of times I was pressing the button. So there, I didn't want him to get in front of me. Sometimes if he gets to the side of you, it's like you're hitting a wall. So it slows you down. You'll suddenly lose speed, or your character's jittery on it. So anyways, and here we are towards the end, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use a bunch. So it's not that bad. I realized I got towards the front of him immediately, but if I didn't, then this next flat portion right there, he would cut tight, and then I can swing to the other side of him. That makes sense? So it would have been fine. Blah, 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 blah. So anyways, he's going to lock us in here. Now we have to hop out of here. So the thing is that Epona can go a little bit faster, and thus she can jump larger fences and stuff. And you can jump just about any of the fences, I think in any compass direction. By the way, fun fact for you, there's a different cinematic for each one. I think the hardest thing actually is to go to the fence. Oh, by the way, this is something very important. Yeah. But I think the hardest option is actually just to jump over the gate that he's guarding, and the easiest place to do that is here. Get a long running start at it, and then just make sure you use a carrot right before you get up to it, and then I could fail. That's great. Just make sure you use a carrot right as you're getting up to it. Oh my goodness. Take 2. Okay, go towards one side. Nope. Anyways, like I said, this is the hardest one. I'm not actually sure. I've never actually done it. I always want to see the other cinematics, because I feel like they're less boring. There we go. Yeah, I think that's the problem, is I can't go directly on top of him. If your angle is where you're going to land on top of him, then it doesn't work. But yeah, the gate's the hardest. By the way, I was saying in the last video that I thought the Kakariko Village song changed once I got to the future, and I was perplexed by this because I didn't remember that being a thing. But I was apparently correct about that, by the way. There are 2 different versions of the Kakariko song. There's the past and the future version. It's the same melody, but it has different instruments, and I don't know how many times I've played Ocarina of Time, and I never noticed this before, which surprises me. I'm just learning something new on every playthrough. For the first official step of the Biggoron Sword trading sequence, you want to speak with the Cucco lady over here on one side of Kakariko. Then she will then take one look at you up and down and say, "You look like you got warm pockets. Here, put an egg in it." That has got to be the strangest compliment I've ever received. So, we now acquired the Pocket Cucco, which is her weird experiment with eggs. I don't know, I think maybe her and Malin are in cahoots and they've been planning out weird experiments with chickens, but whatever. I think that the Cucco lady's just trying to get away from touching them in the first place. Next, you want to head over to this building and enter the building, and then promptly leave the building. The reason is so that when we play the Sun Song to hatch the egg, that we will reappear right here, because normally when you play the Sun Song, it'll make you reappear in the last area that you entered Kakariko from. In this case, that would have been the entrance back a ways. We would have had to run back all the way over here. But by entering this door first, we appear at our quest objective and saves a little bit of traveling time. So, just a big brain, you know? So, go ahead and play the Sun Song twice to hatch the egg, and then enter and use it on Talon here. By the way, you don't actually have to speak with Talon afterwards, but I do like to, just to make him uncomfortable. So by standing behind him like this, you can use the Cucco in an awkward position with him, and then you can make him speak with you while craning his neck as far as possible. That's the most comfortable way to hand in quests, by the way. It's just like that. So, regardless of whether or not you have completed the Epona side quest, you don't actually have to speak with Talon there, you just have to use the chicken next to him. Once he's woken up, then you can go ahead and go back to the Cucco lady and swap birds with her for no reason. She has a blue bird, which I'm not sure if this is food coloring, or she's just has some weird experiments going on here, but whatever. We're gonna go ahead and get Cojiro. I'm not sure what kind of experiments she's running, but we're gonna take this bird away from this mad scientist here. So, my recommendation would be to just play the Minuet of Forest. You can also run all the way to the Lost Woods. I don't think there's any particular reason to do that, unless you want to, park Epona ahead of time, I guess. Now at this point, if you have the fairy bow or long shot, you can use that to take care of this guy up ahead. You can just stand right outside his range, you can barely hit him with a long shot, I believe. Otherwise, my recommendation here is to just zigzag back and forth to get past him. We don't actually have to kill him unless you want some extra rupees, but otherwise you can just kind of ignore him. Now up ahead, you want to just check and make sure that the moblin is around the corner or out of your way, otherwise you're going to kill it with the hook shot. I think this is by far the fastest way to get back to the Lost Woods. You can run through Hyrule Field, but I think it's kind of a waste of time. Up ahead, you'll notice that Navi is flying over and turning green on top of this upper platform. That is because you can use the Scarecrow song to get through here if you're coming from the Lost Woods direction anyways, which is a little bit easier way to get the Minuet of Forest, although I did already go ahead and do it in an earlier video, so having the Scarecrow song at this point is kind of worthless, at least for that particular section. Scarecrow song makes certain things a little bit easier. Anyways, return to the Lost Woods, get lost on purpose to appear back in Kokiri, then re-enter the Lost Woods so you can get back to the beginning. At this point, take a hard right, unless you're one of them GameCube people. Then you can take a left instead. Now here you'll find this pale bro who is gyrating to the lovely music in the background, and he says that because we have a blue chicken, that obviously means we can be trusted. Makes total sense to me. And then he will promptly give us a quickly expiring mushroom, which this sounds like a great plan to me in general. Like, if you find somebody lost in the woods who's not looking too hot, and then he decides that he should really share some mushrooms with you, I think you should just say no. Pro-life advice right there for you, right? Anyways, you want to go ahead and go back to Kokiri, then go out through Hyrule Field, and work your way back over to Kakariko for our destination. Now, at this point, whenever you have items with time limits like this, you cannot warp around using songs, otherwise it will ruin the timer and make the item expire. So, we need to just travel the long way, because why else would they give us a bunch of portals if we can't use them, right? So, you want to go back out to Hyrule Field and use Epona Song if you have it, just to make this a little bit easier for you. I do recommend you wait until after you get past this little L shape, because otherwise, I think she even just appears inside the walls and stuff, so then you have to re-summon her out here. You have to be far enough away in order to summon her, because if she's in the wall like that, and you move a little bit forward, you use it again, it'll just make her run over to you, so she ends up just bonking against the wall and not actually accomplishing anything. So, I believe anyways, if memory serves me correctly about that. Anyway, so we're going to work our way back to Kakariko. So our objective here is to meet up with the old cat lady, and in order to do so, we're going to have to enter the potion shop. There's actually a couple different ways to get there. In particular, if you have the long shot, you can get on top of the roof here with the dude who's sitting on top of it. You actually can technically get on top of that roof with the hook shot at just the right angle, but it's kind of hard to find that sweet spot, and I think jumping off the tower here is a little bit more awkward as an adult, ironically enough. So I think it's better, just more tried and true, to enter the potion shop, which is what they're intending you to do. You want to walk behind the counter here to go outside the door here behind the potion shop, hop down here and go up this ramp and enter this building right here. I always thought this this chick's cat looks like a tiger. Anyways, you gotta stand at just the right position and then use the mushroom. Unfortunately, it is actually a little bit awkward. ironically enough, even though I just moved over just a smidge with my analog stick and it was just perfect, like, whatever. Anyway, so you just use the mushroom several times at slightly different positions and you'll finally get it. I tried to see target, I don't know that it makes a difference. Anyway, she will then give us the odd Poultice. Now, this has different names in the old one. I think it's just odd medicine or something like that in the old version. I don't remember what it's called. Anyways, a Poultice is like a type of medication that is applied directly to the skin, by the way. Now, you can run back the long way if you want to, but otherwise just use the menu of Forest again. So return to the Lost Woods, make a hard right, unless you're one of them GameCube people, and then you'll find this young Kakiri girl who doesn't recognize us, even though we grew up here and everything, and I assume we grew up together, but whatever, maybe she just wasn't expecting us to grow up like this. She does recognize the odd Poultice, though, that it belongs to the forest because it was apparently made with forest materials. The fiends, how could we do such a thing? She then takes it from us forcefully and then wipes it on the ground, I assume, before giving us the Poacher saw, which is left behind by the emaciated dude, who she claims is even more emaciated now because he's become a skeleton. She also claims that we will become a Stalfos too if we stick around much longer. Now, I haven't heard of a more solid dismissal in a long time, but just leave that creepy girl behind. We need to go find the correct owner for this saw, which is going to be all the way over in Gerudo Valley, which is, I'm sure, exactly what you were expecting. Ah yes, I must apologize for the lack of daylight because this means that we do not get the wonderful Gerudo Valley music, although I do feel like I hear it a lot because it feels like just about everybody and their mom who does want to do a remix of any kind of Zelda music, it's always Gerudo Valley, like, I'm working on a remix of a song, which is it? Gerudo Valley. Oh, of course. So in order to get across the bridge, you need to either use the long shot or Epona. Now, this is also one of the reasons why I recommended you get Epona, because it allows us to get the Biggoron Sword as soon as possible. You want to go speak with the Master Craftsman here and fork over the Poacher's saw. And if you stand close enough, it looks like he's sawing his arms off every time he's talking to you. Anyways, so you give him this, and he will then take it from you and gift you with the broken Biggoron Sword. Hey! Step in the right direction, right? Now, in order to get back to the top of Death Mountain, the fastest way to do that, in my opinion, is to play the Bolero of Fire. Oops. I play by ear, so it's all based on what it sounds like. I don't actually have the buttons memorized at all. Now, if you don't have access to the Bolero of Fire right now, then you can either go the long way all the way up to the top of Death Mountain, or you can go to Goron City and complete the little side quest there in order to, with the Goron by the same name, and then gain access to Death Mountain Crater. That way, as long as you're doing that, I highly recommend you get the Bolero of Fire real quick, because you might as well, because it's in the area. But anyways, once you get to Death Mountain Crater, you can go across over to here where there's this red boulder. We can't actually break this until we have the Megaton Hammer for completing the Fire Temple. But what this does is it prevents you from coming from that direction to over this way. But from the Death Mountain Crater using Bolero of Fire, you can just hop across, as an adult anyways. In the past, I believe you can't quite make that jump if memory serves me correctly, but as an adult you can. So, it's pretty convenient actually, so from Death Mountain Crater you can just hop across this way to get to the top of Death Mountain whenever you wish. Now up ahead you will find Biggoron here. Just make a hard right as soon as you exit, unless you're one of them GameCube people, and you'll find Biggoron here. Now you could have spoken with him earlier, however right now he is rubbing his eyes because Death Mountain recently blew and the ash got in his eyes, and so he's having a real rough time. So you can toss the broken sword at him, but he will say that he can't actually work on it until he gets some eye drops for his eyes. He'll then give you a prescription to bring to King Zora in Zora's domain for his fancy eye drops. Now, the fastest way to get back to Zora's domain, in my opinion, is to save and quit. And then this will bring us back to the Temple of Time so we can get to Zora's domain faster. Now, speaking of volcanoes, by the way, I live in Alaska. We have a lot of volcanoes here, which is why we have so many mountains. So it's not usually something people usually associate with Alaska, but we have a lot of volcanoes here. And ashfalls is something we do have to keep in mind, and it has happened over time here as well. I've gone through several that I've experienced. Ashfalls are no fun. They get in everything. They get in electronics and destroy it, so you really need to, like, keep your doors and windows closed, otherwise your computers will get fried. Ideally, you don't drive in it because it's pretty rough on your car as well, so especially when it's really heavy and coming down, you need to kind of like just everybody stays indoors for a day or two and waits for it to settle down a little bit. But then also you want to be careful not to stir it up because bad things will happen. But yes, ashfalls are not fun. Like, I don't know how to explain. You can feel when it's in the air like that. It's like the air itself you can feel it getting into your lungs and slicing your throat on the way down, and you can feel it getting in your eyes and slicing your eyeballs and like your eyelids. I don't know how to explain. The thing to realize is that it's not dirt. What's coming out of there is usually obsidian, and obsidian is like stone shards of glass, basically. So it's like little teeny shards of glass. So it does not feel pleasant. It's very uncomfortable. And you can, I don't know how to explain, you can feel it cutting you. It just is very unpleasant. So you need to do things like this when you're going outside, at the very least. Or wear a face mask, because otherwise it'll just murder you. And then likewise, I have like some swimming goggles, but whenever we have Ashfalls, I wear those too, just for like additional protection. I don't know, like you're squinting as you're going outside because you don't want to get it in your eyes and stuff. It's just bad. Or you put a bandana across your eyes kind of thing. So it's, at the very least, just something. But that's like doable and you can make do. One scary story about that, by the way, is so I've been through several Ashfalls and I kind of just try and stay inside whenever that happens. It's really inconvenient, super annoying. But anyway, one thing that happened is I was cleaning windows outside, and most of the windows were fine, but I had one that was underneath a roof overhang, and I was washing it, and there was a pile up of dirt on the sill, and I didn't think anything of it, but I kind of went to the side a little bit and blew on it, but some of it came back and got me in the face. And I think it was majority of it was ash, and I didn't realize it. And as soon as it happened, I immediately knew, because I could feel it. It just hurt so bad, stinging in my eyes, and I was like, oh no, it was years after we'd had an Ashfall, a really big one, that is. And so I wasn't expecting that. So it got all in my eyes, and I ended up going to my brother's house. I couldn't sleep, and I was in a lot of pain. So I ended up going to my brother's house, and he had some prescription eye drops that were oil-based, that were medicated or whatever, for something he had in the past, but they weren't that old and stuff. But he's like, no, dude, here, use this. And man, that made a big difference. So I just, dripped several of those in there, and then like you could see the gray coming out with my tears out each side and stuff. And it was just gross. Anyways, ash is no fun. Just know that. So yes, I sympathize with Biggoron. Not a fun experience. So, work your way to Zora's Domain. If you have the magic bean planted, that would make this a little bit easier. Not required, though, of course. Next, you want to speak with King Zora. Now, in order for him to be unthawed, you have to have completed the ice cavern and gotten blue fire and melted in with that. Or you can bring blue fire from the shop in Kakariko, and then you can melt him with that. Although, if you're going to come all the way over here to Zora's Domain, I think it makes sense to just get the ice cavern over with, because if you traveled all this distance, you might as well just do it. Anyways, once you have the eyeball frog from King Zora, he gives us another perishable goodie. We want to work our way all the way over to the Lakeside Laboratory at Lake Hylia. Now, what I recommend you do is just follow along with the water here in Zora's River, and this is the fastest way to get through here. You can totally roll through this water. I think it's probably faster to just stay in the water, but... Oh, yeah. Okay, oops. I didn't think about that. Yeah, stay in the water. Once you get all the way over here, I think it's faster definitely to have Epona do that. By the way, as a reminder, I was mentioning this earlier, but for any of these perishable goodies like this, you can't use any portals, or you can't use any songs, that is, to warp around. So you can't warp, otherwise it'll break the items, so that's why we have to run all the way here. Ideally you have Epona. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. You can just run all the way here. But give the eyeball frog to the old guy here. Professor Shikashi, I think is his name in Majora's Mask, anyway. Give him the eyeball frog. He'll say that he thinks it's super tasty and everything, but apparently he just wants we want him to make eye drops instead. Very disappointing. So he will then give us these star-shaped eye drops. And of course, these have a time limit as well. Now, the best way to do this, actually, is to go back to Kokiri. You can go the long way around as well. Ideally, if you have the magic bean planted on Death Mountain next to Dodongo's Cavern, that can make things quite a bit easier as well. However, if you would like to go through do the fancy way with me, you can head over this way. I've never actually done this before, or like I've done it to experiment, but I've never actually done it for reals for this side quest, so I'm just going to do it. Oh my gosh. Why? Why? I hate the fences in Hyrule Field, seriously, like, I swear, they just don't work most of the time. Like, I feel like I should be able to do it, I go straight at them, and they just don't work, and I don't know what to do about it. I actually feel like jumping over stuff in Majora's Mask is a lot easier. There's a lot of things like that I think are easier in Majora's Mask. So enter Kokiri. The goal is that in the Lost Woods there is a portal that leads back to Goron City. So, assuming that you blew up the rocks that were blocking it anyways, I guess we have bombs now, so we can deal with it if that's not the case. Left, right, left, right. Oh, never mind. Yeah, there it is. That was a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. Okay, go out through Garunia's thing. Remember, we can't use the warp songs. Make a hard left, unless you're one of them GameCube people. And then jump across. And there we have it. Go right, speak with Biggoron, and toss him the eyedrops. But yes, I sympathize with Biggoron. It's no fun. Very unpleasant. Like, part of what's scary about it is that it feels like you can't do anything without making the situation worse. Just blinking, like, hurts you. And so, like, you're not even really sure what to do. Like, I ended up just kind of panicking and just kind of, like, just leaving my eyes closed and trying not to, like, move my eyes side to side and stuff. Just trying to hold as still as possible. It's sort of like feeling like I have broken bones or something, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to move your arms or legs. It's kind of like that, I guess. It's hard to explain. But then you don't feel like you can't see, so you don't feel like you can do anything. Alright. So I don't know how many days it's supposed to be. 2, 3? Not yet. So impatient. So yes, play the Sun Song several times in order to change the time of day. And I think you have to wait for 3 days. I actually don't remember how many times it is. By the way, I think repairing a snapped sword is... I don't think that's even a practical thing. I think you have to start over from scratch. So I don't think bringing the broken sword is, like, actually a thing that works. Anyways, this will get us the Biggoron Sword, which is super awesome. The thing that's really crazy about this, actually, is the range. Like, you see how long it is? It's super big. But anyways, that makes stabs especially really effective, because you're just like... So with Biggoron Sword in hand, I think we have everything we need to bring murder and destruction to these future dungeons, which I will be doing in the next video. As always, huge thanks goes to all of my Patreon supporters for helping to make this possible. If you enjoyed this and found it helpful, be sure to throw a like on it, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content just like this. Remember to stay awesome, you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.